reporting there. Joining the table now, we have contributor to Time Magazine and MSNBC political analyst Elise Jordan. And on Capitol Hill, Elise's former boss, member of the Foreign Relations Committee, Republican Senator of Kentucky, Rand Paul. Welcome to you both. Senator, let me start with you. We know the people who were not consulted before this hit the press about the immigration order from President Trump. Generals Mattis, Kelly, Dunford, Rex Tillerson, Bob Corker, the chair of your Foreign Relations Committee, Speaker Paul Ryan. Were you given any heads up or consultation on this executive order?
Well, I was told about 400 times, over a year and a half that he was going to do this. So I guess I'm not surprised. In the rollout, I was not specifically consulted, and obviously there are some things that didn't go perfectly. But I think really people ought to step back and see if we can agree that there's a problem in order to decide whether we like the solution. And the problem's pretty clear that about 40% of people who come to visit our country on a visa overstay their visa, and we have no idea where they are. On 9/11, at least 2 of the hijackers were here on visa. They were traveling back and forth to the Middle East, and we really had no idea where they were or what they were doing, and they were overstaying their visa. So there are problems, I think, in the immigration system that need to be fixed for our safety. In addition to that, in my hometown, Bowling Green, Kentucky, we had 2 Iraqi refugees. One of them's fingerprints was on an IED, and yet he got through the screening process, was living in our town, in government housing, on government assistance, and nobody knew that he was already a saboteur and someone who, once he got to the country, was trying to buy missiles to harm us. So I think there is a problem, and we have to get together and figure out how to solve this problem. But I think many are just looking at the solution, saying they don't like the solution, but they're not admitting that there's a problem.
Well, I think it's fair to look now at the solution because it's the one that President Trump has proposed and, in fact, signed off an executive order. So do you think the specifics of what's in that order address your concerns, the ones you just laid out?
Well, I think you have to pause the system from areas of high risk for terrorism until you can improve the system. Overall, do I believe exchange with other cultures is good? People going back and forth is good? Trade is good? Yes, all of these things are good, but I think you have to make sure the system's working. We need to know virtually 100% of the time when you come and when you leave. It's called entry and exit. We do need to know that. And here's the problem that faces Europe. In Europe, 1 million people went into Germany. Some of them presented with one name and no papers. So if you call back to Syria and say, my name is so-and-so, and you ask for the agency to check this person with one name, there is no agency. It's chaos over there. So vetting these people is very, very difficult, and I think we need to do more vetting of people coming with one name from various countries in the Middle East.
Senator Paul, just looking at the big picture, do you think that President Trump is using executive authority appropriately? And you've been an outspoken advocate in the past of Congress restraining executive authority. And so how do you think he is implementing his new power?
Well, I am a big believer in the separation of powers, that most things should originate out of the legislature. And even this, immigration, the overall fix to the entry and exit, needs to come from the legislature, not the president. I do think, though, that in President Obama's overreach by creating executive orders, he created things that are temporary and can be undone by executive orders. So undoing previous executive orders, I'm kind of fine with. Creating whole immigration law, no, that needs to be done by Congress.
Senator, back to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Do you think, since that glaring example of incompetence in terms of vetting, do you think the vetting process has been upticked and improved since that happened?
I think they tried, but I'm not convinced of it. So, for example, to convince someone like me who is skeptical that the problem is fixed, you need to let me know that instead of 40% of people overstaying their visas, maybe 10% or 5% are overstaying their visas. We really do need to get a better handle. Look, we have computers, for goodness sakes. We should know everybody who comes in and everybody who leaves. And if they haven't left after their 6-month or their 1-year visa, they need to be notified, and someone needs to say, why haven't you left?
Now, Senator, was that the event that led to President Obama and Congress picking the 7 countries?
Yes. But it led to the increased vetting and the pause that was put on Syrian refugees and I think also Iraqi refugees for about 6 months. This was done by President Obama in response to the possibility or the attempted bombing in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where I live.
Yeah. So going back, and I understand that you think that there's a need to obviously vet in a tough, aggressive way. And I think many of us agree with that position as well. Are you concerned about the rollout? Are you concerned that General Mattis wasn't notified, that Rex Tillerson and others weren't given input on this first?
I don't know the interworkings of who was notified and who wasn't notified, but I can say that there is a way to do this, and I had legislation to do this a while back, do this and at the same time enhance travel. So we have something called global entry. I'm in it, many international travelers are in it. If you are a legitimate person in Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia doing business, we want you to come back and forth. If you're a student or a professor giving a speech, we want you to come back and forth. But let's get them into global entry.
I totally agree with you, but my question is, are you concerned? They certainly are telling associates they were not, especially General Kelly, who runs the Department of Homeland Security, was not notified. Should he have been notified?
I don't know who was and who wasn't.
If he wasn't, should he have been notified?
Sure, everybody should, and there could have probably been a little bit more forethought in this to make sure that, for example, green card holders were not swept up in this. And so I think that that'll be something the administration learns. They're brand new, and I think they'll do a better job of the next time around.
So can I ask you about the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, as it's called? You're working with the president. I guess after you're on this show, you guys spoke, and you're working with the president for a fix for Obamacare. How is that progressing? What's that looking like? And for Republicans in Kentucky and Republicans in Connecticut who voted for Donald Trump and who are on Obamacare, can you assure them that they will still be covered?
Yeah, our goal is to ensure the most amount of people at the least amount of cost. Our goal is also to put forward a replacement bill. There's going to be two bills. One bill is going to repeal, but it also involves what is left. That'll be one bill. The other bill will be the replacement bill that I've worked on. I've put together a bill, and it has the consensus ideas that most Republicans agree to, and hopefully some reasonable Democrats. It would legalize the sale of inexpensive insurance. You could buy catastrophic insurance if you want to. It would expand health savings accounts so you can save. You can pay your premiums, deductibles, copays out of your health savings account. Has a tax credit to put money into your health savings account. And then the third thing it does, which is very important, is it lets individuals join together and buy insurance as a large group so they can have leverage to have lower price, and also so they can be protected against things like pre-existing conditions or if someone in your family gets ill.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Rand Paul. Greatly appreciate you being here, as always. So the travel ban is also taking a toll on the markets. That's